Well, I think the two messages we're getting very clearly this evening, one is about cheating on the field and one is about abuse off it. I sat with, we won a game early, it was quite unusual at Kent, and I took Steve Waugh to Old Trafford and we sat between Spurs fans and Manchester United fans. Well, that was 50 quid they wasted because none of them watched the game. They spent I promise you, they spent the whole match swearing at each other. There were 2 people watching the football, 200 people arguing. I don't know what that was about, what kind of group anger therapy or something like that. It is distressing and it is different. Now, it's absolutely true what Garth and Hunter and David, they all attacked me on very good ground, which is that we've got to avoid hypocrisy in different sports. Cricket is not perfect and it's not exempt from any of these issues, and nor are other games, and I think that's a very important point. And you're absolutely right, there's a double standard where I thought it was different. I was brought up to think that nicking it and not walking was not cheating, but I do think it's cheating. This is just a double standard maybe on my part, to organise a premeditated plan which you know is constructed, or whether it's sledging or whether it's saying the third ball we're all going to shout or whatever. That was something that I considered to be cheating. Now in terms of abuse, a sport is an empty vessel, as Hunter says. No one makes claims when they become a sportsman that they're going to be perfect. But a sport represents a culture. And it's that culture that we, if you like, as people, and what we want from our regulators, that they shift the culture for the good. Now, a golfer can, under huge pressure, and this is where Tiger's fallen down a couple of times, but 99.9% of professional golfers, under massive pressure, behave very well. Galleries in golf generally behave very well. Hatred, abuse, prejudice, bigotry is not the universal human condition. It's a part of it. And it's up to us, as the game's regulators, as the people who love the game, to push it away where we can and to just shift the balance a little bit in favour of decency and good people. Okay. That's what we're about.
Okay. Garth, give you time to come back on this.
Please don't let our opponents change the image and the aspects of your game, this great game of ours, this fantastic game. And that's what's happening here. They're trying to contort, trying to pull and distort that beautiful image. Yes, it does have aspects of unattractive parts of it, no doubt. But sadly, one of the aspects of our society is cheating. Our MPs cheat. Our banks cheat. Our institutions, Goldman Sachs, cheat. It's an aspect. We, in our game, do our level best to try and correct the wrongs. We don't always get it right. We recognise they exist and we address them. Fabio Capello took the axe to John Terry. He took the only thing he could away from him, his captaincy. And who knows, he might take away his position. We deal with it.
Isn't the person who took over from the captain someone who dodged a drugs test? And he's captain of England. And in Australia, the reason why Shane Warne, who would have been the best captain for Australia and the best cricketer, he was never given the captaincy for the same reason.
Footballers had more drug tests. Premier League footballers have more drug tests than any other profession.
Okay, I'm going to take one final question very, very quickly. I'm going to do a very quick round, and then we're going to do a quick summary from each of the guests, 1 minute each, and then during that time we will ask you to vote once more. I'm going to take the gentleman up the top, and then I'll take you down here, sir. Just gentleman at the top first.
I just wanted to say I think there's a slight irony in the fact that Garth and Hunter particularly are trying to argue that other sports aren't better than football when the purpose of fighting against the motion is for them to say that football is the beautiful game. So they are actually fighting for it to be the beautiful game, and at the same time saying that it shouldn't be judged differently from other sports. Professional sport will always have endemic cheating and money causing lots of problems. It just means that football isn't different to any of the others.
Okay, thank you, sir. Down here.
The left side, quite clearly your strongest argument is the money involved in football and that the richest teams will win. I was just wondering if you'd seen the lineup for the FA Cup final.
Okay, thank you very much. And one final question we might be able to throw. There in the middle, sir, the gentleman there with the glasses.
Would the panel please address the question, who is going to win the World Cup?
Fine. That might be a very good way to to end it all. Okay. Answer that very, very briefly then, before we sum up.
Brazil.
Dominic.
No idea.
Perfect.
Spain.
David.
England all the way.
Garth.
Come on, we're supporting our country.
I never thought I'd ever on this panel agree with Tom Bauer, but I'm going with Brazil.
Finally, Hunter.
England will get beaten in the quarterfinals on penalties, knocked out by the Faroe Isles. Oh, the Faroe Isles are not actually playing. But somebody piddling and titchy will knock them out, and Brazil will win.
Right. Thank you very much indeed. I will now ask the members of the panel in turn to sum up. I will give them a minute only, and we do this in reverse order. And we therefore start with Hunter. Your minute starts now.
One of the joys when I go to football is actually the screaming and the shouting. I think it gets rid of aggression. It's a good outlet for it, and people need it. Yet they've used it as a stick to beat us with. One of the things that Dominic said was the beautiful game, the phrase beautiful game, is a marketing slogan. Do you know where the phrase the beautiful game comes from? Well, Stuart Hall on Radio 5 claims he invented it in 1958. But as I'm a fluent Portuguese speaker, I know that it's Brazilian Portuguese for jogo bonito, to play beautifully. And that was there from almost the beginning of football in Brazil, which we gave to Brazil, because we gave football to the world. It's so lovely when these phrases come back, and not just the talents. Anyway, Pellé's biography was called My Life and the Beautiful Game. Another point I want to make, I think Tom or somebody was saying that communities are being destroyed by all the money. If you look at a list of teams, the 4 leagues in 1923, you'll find out of the 92 teams, only 4 have disappeared. And my point is, if you walk down any high street in 1923, all those businesses have gone. Communities are not being destroyed. People are still following their clubs, even when they're doing badly. Look at Newcastle, the people they have behind them, even in the lower league. That match you mentioned earlier, David, at Wembley, Southampton had 40,000 people. I was there supporting Carlisle, and there were 22,000 people from Carlisle there. Communities are not being destroyed. Communities are kept together, because football provides excitement and awe and wonder and admiration. Most people's lives do not have an abundance of excitement and glamour. Football is often said that it's a substitute for war. I actually think there's a good case to be made for that. Fans have a pride and strong emotions. I want to suggest, finally, that football might be taking the place of patriotism. All that flag waving and all the loyalty without actually killing anyone.
Hunter, thank you very much. Move on to Ed now. Your closing.
The first thing is I can't believe I'm batting again. I don't know if we followed on or not, and we've reversed the batting order. I didn't know about that. I want to appeal to your optimism this evening. It's very important that I don't want to present a pessimistic, negative case. My argument is that the advent of money in football needn't eliminate the things we love about it. I spoke to Simon Barnes today, and he basically told me, you're wasting your breath. There used to be a thing called beautiful sport and the Corinthian spirit. Then money came along. The reason was winning, and fair play has nothing to do with it. He makes his case brilliantly, but I don't agree with him. I think in actual fact that life is more about a sort of optimal equilibrium point. And I think that football's just tipped over a little bit, too much on the side of greed, too much on the side of doing whatever you can get away with, and just needs to be dragged back a touch. I know regulation's unfashionable in sport, but we know what happens when there's no regulation in massive industries. So I think this is a turning point for football, and I appeal to your optimism and the game's optimism, thinking that we can have a little bit more beauty in our sports and in our lives.